little bit about joy. See, it's one of the things in our lives that we think somehow when we get all of our problems handled, then we're going to get there. We think somehow when we get out of all the wrongness of us, we're going to get there. But fundamentally, it's who we are as a being. It's why little kids are happy pretty much no matter what happens, until they get really cranky and sad and angry at something, But they don't do that very often like adults do. So joy is actually our fundamental state. And what I'd like to present to you the possibility and concept of is, what if rather than having everything have to be right before you're joyful, what if rather than having to somehow think that joy comes as a result of getting over your problems, what if joy is actually a choice that you make that then changes all of those problems, ends the problems, or makes them go away significantly? Now, I found this in my life when I started doing Access. I started choosing for joy. It was one of the first times in my life where I realized it was actually possible, not only possible, but actually available as a space that I could be. And so what choice for joy do you have available that if you made it would change your entire reality, your entire life, and the world for the greater? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and create it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what choice for joy do you have available that you're not choosing? That if you chose it would create a greater life, a greater reality, and a greater world? Everything that is times a godzillion. Will you destroy and create it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what choice for joy do you have available that you have not been choosing, that if you would choose it would create a greater life, a greater reality for you, and a greater world for us all? Everything that is and everything that doesn't allow you to choose it now, and just make the demand, make the choice. I'm having this now. I don't know what it's going to take, but the universe will. Will you destroy and create it, please? Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Now, if you're living in a space in your life and in your world where it feels like you're really far from it, I totally get that it doesn't seem like you choosing it will make any difference. But the way creation works is you ask and you get the sense of what that would be like or take. And then you ask the universe and you acknowledge, I'm asking for this now. So you know you're asking, the universe knows you're asking. And you say, hey, universe, hook a brother up, hook a sister up. Dear consciousness, help. I don't know what it's going to take to have this, but I'm making the choice now, and I'm willing to change anything to have it. That's the way this works. And I'm going to say one more time in closing is, if you make the choice for joy, what happens is the things in your life start to open up to allow for that to become your reality. And in so doing, a lot of the things that have been your problems start to dissipate far easier than you ever thought they would. And believe me, I understand what it is to have so many problems you think you can't be joyful. And I'll tell you, that's one of the biggest lies that we buy. We have to make the choice for joy, and the problems will change, the money will follow, the relationships will follow, and the happiness that you deserve will follow. Last thing, joy has a sense of peace to it. It's not this manic, frantic thing. It's actually, wow, here I am. I realized that in my life, that I tried to change so many things thinking, once this changes, I can be happy. Once this changes, I can be happy. Once this changes, I can be happy. Except they never friggin' changed, like enough to be happy at least. And then I started taking a different tact after I came to Access Consciousness. I started going, you know what? What did I want at 6 years old? And I started going, you know what I wanted? When people ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I went, happy. I want to be happy. And my friend Gary tells a very similar story. So I think it's so interesting that we're such good friends, because he had the same thing. His parents would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And he'd go, happy. And they'd go, no, do you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an Indian chief? That kind of thing. What do you want to be? Yes, I'll be any of those things as long as I'm happy. And I had the same point of view. And actually, I still do. The difference is now, between 6 and about 30, it was gone. Then maybe 8 and about 30. It was like it got buried further and further and further, and then buried more and thrown out into the world, so I never knew where I could find the happiness that I wanted at 6 years old. But what I realized was, wow, you know what? As I started making the demand that I was going to be happy, that I was going to be joyful no matter what, that I was going to live my life from a sense of joy no matter how much money I had, no matter how many relationships I had, no matter how much sex I had, no matter how many people I had in my life, no matter anything else, I was just going to be happy and joyful. When I made that demand, my life started changing. And my money stuff started changing. And my relationship stuff started changing. And all the other stuff I was looking to change, like, oh, the level of joy in my life started changing. So I realized that that is actually one of the biggest keys there is to having everything you've been asking for. So what's today's questions? If I were creating my life from the joy of it today, what would I choose right away? If I were creating my life from the joy of it today, what would I choose right away? I'll say it a third time, just because 3 times sometimes helps. If I were creating my life from the joy of it today, what would I choose right away? If you were creating your life from the joy of it today, what would you choose right away? And when I say you, I mean you. What would you choose right away? You know, I talk to people all over the world, and what I want them to know is life can be joyful. It really can. And I know you've got reasons it can't. I get that. But if you demand right now, my life is going to be a joyful place. I don't care what it takes. I don't care what has to change. I don't care where I have to go. I don't care what has to go away or what has to enter my life. My life is going to be a joyful place, and I'm going to start living it from there. You will change things by making that demand. And one of the ways to institute that is, if I were creating my life from the joy of it today, what would I choose right away? When you're willing to function from the limitlessness that you actually be. Now, it's interesting getting here, right? It's like, I have no idea what I'm doing skiing. But in the past, where I would have been sort of insecure, or wondered, you know, what am I doing wrong? Or started looking for how I could judge myself and that sort of thing. This time I was like, man, how much fun can I have? And I gotta tell you, it's so much fun. It is amazing. And the quiet and the space and the peace, and notice the intensity of these people going behind me. I mean, it's just friggin' awesome. So what's the tool for today? Well, let me ask you a question. What have you made so vital about not being limitless that you would let the limitations of other people's worlds run you and limit you? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroyed and created, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. So what have you made so vital about not being limitless that you would allow other people's limitations to run you and limit you in any way? Everything that is times a godzillion, we destroyed and created, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys and beyonds. This idea of vitality is something that we've been exploring in Access recently, because my friend Gary Douglas and I had this awareness that there are things that you've made vital in your world that actually aren't for you, and when you do, they end up limiting and stopping you. So, on that note, what if you were truly limitless in your life and in your world? And what if it's time to have the reality you know is possible? Let's create it together, shall we? Joy, thanks for run that process. It will change stuff like you never imagined possible. I'm gonna go ski some more thinking of you. What if you truly being you are the gift and the change this world requires? I look forward to seeing you in person someday, beautifuls. Bye!